Welcome back to the Restaurant Show. You know, we showcase a lot of local food on this program, but what's good food without some great wine? And I'm joined now by the owner of Fisher King Winery, Elwyn Fitzgerald, aka Fitz. How are you, Fitz?
Very good. How are you?
Excellent.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about today, a lot to cover. You brought some product, and then there's some things that are going on at Fisher King Winery that we need to make sure we cover.
Yeah.
But first, I want to ask, how did you get into this business? What is your background for opening up Fisher King Winery?
Well, I actually worked for 35 years in corporate America,
Really?
not directly having anything to do with wine directly.
Okay.
But all those years I made wine. Like so many people who start artisan craft beverage companies, you know, you do it at home on a non-commercial level. What really initiated my interest in it and got me going on it was I come from a European family. Both my parents are European. My mom is off the boat German. My dad, who passed fairly recently, was Irish.
Okay.
And you know, I remember sipping wine at the dinner table at age 6.
Sure.
It's just, I mean, I didn't think much wine at age 6,
Right,
quite frankly.
right.
But you know, but I mean, it was just kind of the family culture, and
Right.
it was no taboo or weirdness. And
Right.
and in fact, when I was in high school, I was a sophomore in high school. I remember going to my mother and saying to her, "So what is all this about wine and winemaking, and how do you make wine?"
Right.
And she is 86 now, and she
Okay.
has never lost her thick German accent. And back then she looked at me and she shook her finger at me and she said, "Well, go buy a book. Go buy some equipment. Go learn how to make wine."
Right.
And so that's kind of what got it started.
Yeah.
The irony is, here's a woman telling her teenage son to go make alcoholic beverages.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that was then and this is now. I don't, you know.
How often does that happen nowadays?
People seem pretty hypersensitive about it now.
Right.
But
Well, that's a great story, great background. And let's talk a little bit about some of the grapes that you use at your winery, because I'm assuming you use mostly Wisconsin-grown grapes. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. Last year, about 60, pardon my voice.
No problem.
About 65% of our production was from grapes grown right here in southern Wisconsin.
Okay, wow.
So, and the only kind of grapes that can really grow in Wisconsin are cold hardy hybrid grapes.
Right.
The big limiting step on the types of grapes is how many days below zero,
Okay.
because of winter kill.
Okay.
So all of the classic grapes from Europe that people tend to be a little more familiar with, all require a much more temperate growing zone.
Sure, yeah.
So, you know, they have to be in dry, warmer places.
Sure.
So we have all these cold hardy hybrid grapes
Yeah.
that we can grow around here. And that's,
Right.
so we do bring some grapes and juice in from out of state, but we
Sure.
try to focus as much as we can on absolutely the local ones.
Local Wisconsin-grown wine. How about that?
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the wines that you brought with you today. So what's unique about each of these, and can you describe some of that for us?
Sure. Well, we have more back at the winery that we have up in the tasting room.
Right.
But this is just a selection. There's like 4 whites over here
Sure.
and 3 reds right here.
Okay.
Like for example, okay, so here's White Whisper.
Okay.
And this is made from Frontenac Gris,
Okay.
which is a cold hardy hybrid grape.
Sure.
And we get most of our Frontenac Gris from out in Vernon County with a couple of growers we work with out there. And that's a really, really nice grape. It's
Right.
actually related to Frontenac, which is a red grape.
Okay.
But it's sort of like the lighter version of it. And it makes a very nice, almost savory, earthy kind of wine.
Okay.
And it's been very popular, and we have that in the tasting room. So that's Frontenac Gris. And if you go through each one of the wines, you'll find that each of them have different characteristics.
Sure.
Some are very bright and crisp. Some are very, more earthy like that. We have a range of sweetness on the whites, from absolutely dry right up to very sweet. So our sweet Moscato is our sweetest white.
Okay.
And on the reds, currently we have 4 dry reds up in the tasting room.
Okay.
And 2 of those are from Wisconsin-grown grapes, and that includes the Marquette, which is probably our best-selling red wine.
Okay, great. And I see you won some awards there. You want to talk
Well,
about
I mean,
those?
we sort of draped them on top of this one bottle, but yes,
Yeah.
the Marquette, our 2 best, not the awards are the end-all,
Right.
do people like drinking them? That's the
Right,
end-all,
right, right.
But Marquette and Blue Rapture have both done very, very well from coast to coast. We're not talking about little local things, from Midtown Manhattan to San Diego to Sonoma. We've been actually taking home some very nice awards for our wines, and the ones made from Wisconsin-grown grapes.
Awesome. So that there's definitely a hunger for the cold, hardy grapes that are grown here in Wisconsin.
Right. They tend to be a little lighter in body than some of the other heavier ones from Europe.
Well, since this is the restaurant show, let's have a little bit of a food tie-in here. What foods do these wines typically go well with?
Well, first of all, they all go great by themselves. I just have to say that, right? But yes, they go great with different foods. The reds will typically go with, heavier sauces, heavier red meats that have been grilled, things like that, stronger flavors. Yeah. Because the red wines you ferment on the skins and they become much more filled with flavor themselves. That's what makes a red wine. On the whites, again, it varies. I can tell you one thing, this Blue Rapture goes extremely well with spicy foods.
Okay.
Because it kind of cools. It's got some sweetness. It's similar to sweetness like a Riesling, kind of. It's not a Riesling grape, but it's similar. And that level of sweetness is just about right that if you get some pepper spiciness in something, it kind of cools it, right? It
kind of cools it,
Yeah.
So you can kind of keep up without sweating.
Right, yeah, it really helps cleanse the palate, yes.
I want to make sure, we got about a minute left. What sort of special events do you have coming up at the winery besides all the times that the tasting room is open? Right,
well, we do many things. I mean, starting up in October, we're doing Trivia Night again. That's going to be happening every week. That was great in the spring. We have our big 6-year anniversary gala party, which is going on on the weekend of Friday the 29th through October 1st.
Okay.
We have prizes, we have giveaways, we have 3 bands playing, Songwriters Circle, Late Harvest, and Mascot Theory, along with a whole bunch of other stuff going on. It's going to be a weekend of just having a great time and wine specials and things like that.
So September 29th through October
1st.
October 1st, okay. So and do they need to get tickets or anything
like
that? Or?
Just come on out and have fun. Just enjoy it.
Fun.
Yeah, check our Facebook page.
Okay,
because
excellent.
That's where we have all the events posted and the times and things like that.
Very good. Well, Fitz from Fisher King Winery, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And they also host some special events, so check their website for more information. We'll be right back with more Restaurant Show after the break.